Hey everybody, this is Anika from WriteBlack.com, and I've got some suggestions for you if you want to buy gifts for people for Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever your personal winter holiday celebration is. If you've got to buy books, I've got recommendations. And while we're talking about books, let's make some banana bread. We're going to start with some smashed bananas. I've already mashed them up, and this was 3 bananas. And we are going to pour some melted butter in. And one of the first books I want to talk about is a book for the romance lover on your list. It's a book, an anthology called The Holiday Inn, and it's got, I actually happen to have it here. It is by Phyllis Bourne Williams, Farah Roshan, and Stephanie Worth, and it's got 3 different stories of 3 different couples who are trying to connect over the holidays. So for the romance lover on your list, that's a good book. Now I'm going to go ahead and throw in an egg. If you've got a romance hater on your list, but someone you think could be persuaded to love romance, I'm going to recommend The Critic by Diane Davis. Now that we've got our egg, our butter, and our bananas in, let's go ahead and throw in about a cup of brown sugar here. Let's say you've also got some kids to buy for on your list. One of the books that I always recommend, and as a matter of fact, if you know me personally and you have a kid and you invite me to your baby shower, there's a very good chance you're going to get this book. It's called Keats's Neighborhood, and it's a collection of books by Ezra Jack Keats, who was not in fact a black author, but wrote frequently about black children in these little picture books that were awesome. When I was a little kid, I made my mother read The Snowy Day so much that I think she probably would have gone crazy if I hadn't gotten to the point where I could eventually read it myself. Another book that might be good for the kiddies, if you've got a gift to give to a young kid, is Elijah of Buxton, which is by Christopher Paul Curtis. Now let's go ahead and throw in some flour here. This is about a cup and a half of flour, and we're still making our mix here. We've talked about the romance lovers, the romance haters, and the kids. What if you've got teenagers or people who read young adult literature on your book? One of the first books I'd recommend is called It Chicks, and it's by Tia Williams. Another one is called The Shadow Speaker, and it actually came out last year. It's by Nnedi Okorafor-Mbachu, and it's a very sort of magical realism fantasy book that's set in Africa, and I think you may enjoy it. Some of the other books that I would recommend are Dirty Jersey by Philip Thomas Duck, My Life as a Rhombus by Varian Warren, and I'm going to go with Who You Whip by Paula Chase. And those are for the young adults on your list. This, I just put in some more. I'm getting ready to put in, before I put in more flour, I put in some cinnamon and some cloves and some nutmeg. So now here goes the rest of the flour. I also recommend cookbooks for the holiday season. One of my favorite cookbooks that I recommend all the time for people is called The Vegetarian Soul Food Cookbook. It's by a guy named Imar Hutchins and a woman named Dawn Marie Daniels. It came out a few years back. It's still excellent. You should still buy it. The Vegetarian Soul Food Cookbook. Look for it. Another book I think that you may enjoy is The Soul of a New Cuisine, which is by Marcus Samuelsson, who is the Ethiopian, Swedish, I know it makes no sense, chef. And if you are a lady or a gentleman who likes looking at pictures of attractive Ethiopian men, I highly recommend that you go on the Google and put in Marcus Samuelsson, that's Samuelsson with 2 S's, and look at pictures of him. But not only is he pretty, but he also can cook. He owns, I think at this point, 3 restaurants in New York City. And this new book, relatively new book, is about African food as well. Still stirring up the banana bread mixture here. if you have someone on your list who likes superheroes or graphic novels, two books that I recommend for you are The Darker Mask, which is an anthology that includes books by, but stories by people like Tanana Reeve-Dew and Stephen Barnes, and Walter Mosley even has one in there. That one is excellent. I reviewed it here on WriteBlack.com, so you can go back and look at the review. Another book I recommend is a bit more sobering, but it's so well done. It's probably the best book I read this year, and it's called Incognegro, and it's by Matt Johnson. So Incognegro and The Darker Mask. Our cranberries. And another one of my favorite ingredients, the bourbon that goes into this. There are lots of different bourbons you can buy, and they mostly taste nasty. But Maker's Mark is made from the tears of angels, so I recommend Maker's Mark. And I think the recipe says you should put a teaspoon in. You can put whatever feels good to you. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay. Now it's time to pour. So there we go. 2 pans of banana cranberry bread. And now we're going to put them in the oven at 350 for about an hour. While we're waiting for the banana bread to get out of the oven, let's talk some more about books that you can buy for the book lovers on your holiday shopping list. If you've got one of those government geeks or a civics geek or an environmental geek, the book you want to get for that person is called The Green Color Economy, and it's by Van Jones. If you have somebody who loves horror or paranormal or any kind of supernatural type books, the book you want to get for that person is called The Ancestors, and it's by Brandon Massey, Tanana Reeve-Dew, and L.A. Banks, who are basically the big 3 black writers who are writing in horror these days. And finally, in case you may or may not have heard, Barack Obama is going to be the new president of the United States beginning January 20th. For the people on your list, the last people on earth who have yet to read his books, you should get them for those people. And those books are Dreams from My Father and The Audacity of Hope. Okay, it's been about an hour, so we're going to check in on our cranberry banana bread and see how it's doing. Oh, it looks good. And it smells really good. Let's try one of my mother's old tricks and stick a toothpick in it, make sure it's all good. Looks like. Alright, let's put these puppies over here. So now with any luck, you've got a new holiday recipe, and you've also got a list of books that you can buy for the book lovers that you're going to be shopping for this holiday season. And from my family to yours, happy holidays.
Now hear what I say.